It's good to see all of you here from various backgrounds. Okay. Hello everyone. I see there are many people who are beginners in programming. We'll wait for one more minute. Everyone will introduce themselves. Then we can move ahead. Okay, so hi all of you. So let's get started. I'll be introducing DSC quickly and we'll move towards our agenda. DSCs are basically developer students clubs, as I have written over here. DSCs are university-based groups for students who are passionate about helping each other and helping each other through technology. Being inspired by this common goal, we have conducted various events, like 20 plus events and activities for our community. And C++ Bootcamp is one of these initiatives. Like we have conducted introduction to open source, right from introduction to open source to Hacktoberfest meetup, and even some remarkable events like DSC Wow and cybersecurity conference, etc. So these are the initiatives DSC take to help students bridge the gap between theory and practice. Okay, so all of you can see the picture of a dog using laptop, and he's saying, I have no idea what I am doing here. So this is okay for a dog to say that he has no idea what he is doing, but this is the condition of most of our coders or programmers, that they know they can copy paste from Google or everything, but they don't know what's actually going on inside their code. And that was the main reason behind conducting this workshop. The main objective behind this bootcamp is to teach programming from scratch and build the logic behind programming. Okay, so the main objective we are going to achieve here is develop our logic about how to create a code, how to write logic for the problem we are going to solve, and then we will convert it into a program using a programming language, that is C++. So I will tell you a bit about the flow of our bootcamp. We have 3 sessions planned as of now, and in which we will cover basics of C++ and we will solve some problems using C++. Okay, so there are 4 to 5 speakers who will be teaching you throughout the sessions. I'll introduce them as their session will be starting. And the one more thing I would like to mention is ask doubts. We are teaching here. We are also students. We are your seniors. We are not teachers or professors. So you can ask your doubts freely, and nobody is going to say anything about that. We will solve your doubts as fast as possible. So, and even I would like to add one more thing, is no doubt is silly. There is no doubt or question exist which can be silly if you are learning something, if you are trying to learn something new. So don't worry about it. So I would also like to tell you how to ask questions here in this platform. So you have in chat section, you have general Q&A and DMs. You can ask your questions in the Q&A section specifically, so that our speakers will be seeing those questions and answering them. Do not put your questions in general. Even if you put there, please copy paste it in Q&A section, so that no question will be unnoticed. And also do not put it in DMs. Maybe it will go unnoticed. So okay, you all, almost 138 people have joined us. So I would like to tell you that one thing, that this is not going to be a waste of time. You will definitely get some value out of this bootcamp, C++ bootcamp, and you will learn something new for sure. Okay, so our we have two speakers for the day. I will introduce them first. The first one is Advait Bhope, who is a fourth year computer engineering student and technical head at DSC PVG And the second speaker is Vinod Kamath, who is also a fourth year computer engineering student and project manager at DSC PVG So we will get started right from there, and all the best, guys. Enjoy the learning process and do ask your doubts if you have any. And use the chat box as much as you want. Thank you. I would like, Advait, can you start your session?
Yep, sure. Can you stop your sharing? Yeah, thanks. Oh, by the way, meanwhile, let me just answer a few doubts that have been asked by now. Sham was asking, how can we build strong program logics? So right now, I would say, okay, I'll come to that later, if you don't mind. Yeah. And Ritwij is asking, yeah, Ritwij, you can ask your doubts here in the question section. Okay, so hi guys, Sunanda has introduced me already. So I'm Advait, fourth year computer engineering student and technical head at DSC PVG And today we'll be starting with like the basics of C++. So the first thing that I want to talk is like why we are taking this session, right? So it's because you guys, since I mean, most of you are in first year now and a couple of you are in second year, maybe a few third year students as well. But first and second year students right now do not have C++ in their syllabus, in your university's curriculum. When we were in first year, that was not the case. We were following a different syllabus and we had C++. And you guys have Python, but we thought it is important that you guys should know what C++ is, and we'll tell you why C++ is like important as well. So let me just share my screen and yeah, can you guys see it? Okay, yeah, I can see it. Yep. Oh, by the way, so this is going to be a hands-on session, right? So, I know that probably all of you must have joined from your laptop already, but if you haven't, please open up your laptops and join via laptops. So you'll actually be able to code. Yeah, I'll take you through that. But open your laptop if you haven't already. And one more thing before we move forward is I'd like to echo what Sunanda said, right, about doubts. So, I mean, I can't stress this enough because it is actually very important. Right now, you are at a stage where C++, maybe you might be a little bit familiar with C++. Some of you might be looking at it for the first
There might be some network issue. Please wait for 2 minutes.
Hello, guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Advait.
Yeah, sorry. The web page crashed. Anyway, so where was I? Doubts. Okay, yeah, I was just saying that doubts are like very important right now, because when you are at this stage that you're learning the basics of C++, it is very good if you can clear those doubts at this stage itself. Because if these doubts stay with you when you learn advanced stuff, right? It won't be good, because these are some like very critical concepts, and it will be very beneficial for you if you can clear them right now itself. So don't hesitate while asking questions. And as Sunanda said, no doubt it's silly, so just fire them. No problem. And let me share my screen again. Yep. Oh, also, by the way, so while we'll be doing actual coding, right, you might want to have like two screens side by side. If you want to do that, you can join from mobile as well, so you can view the video in your mobile and maybe code on your laptop. Or if you don't want to juggle between two windows simultaneously. But yeah, I'll leave that up to you. All right. So Karan is asking, is it possible to learn C++ without any knowledge of C? So yes, it is totally possible to do that, because actually C and C++ are like very similar. I'll tell you one thing, C++ is named C++ because it is like an incremental update to C. I mean, that is how it started out. Since then, they've been segregated. But nevertheless, since they are like very similar, it does not require you to know C before you study C++. Yep. Chetan is asking in which app we can do coding. Okay, I'll come to that, Chetan. So first, right now, before we actually dive into coding, what I want to talk is about the history and why we should study C++. Just a little bit of that. So let's go forward with that, and I'll come back to the actual thing later. Yeah. So the first thing I want you guys to do is, can you guess when C++ was invented? Just any random guess. Type in the chat box. What do you think? Okay, you guys are pretty close. Yep. Okay, yeah, you guys are all like pretty close. Someone said 1985. That was the correct answer. So yep, this is the guy, Jan Stroustrup. So he's a genius. This C++ was like first released in 1985 officially, and as I said, it was built on top of C. So that is how it started out, as I said. But over the years, these two segregated. They are still like very similar. It doesn't matter. I mean, practically, if you're like at the basic stage, it really does not matter. And yeah, even today in like 2020, after 36 years, it still remains one of the most popular languages. And why is that? So the reason, I mean, that it is like used like still in a lot of places, right? You can see all these Windows, Spotify. I'm sure like obviously you know all these applications. And even apart from this, it is used in many mission critical situations. So when I say mission critical, I mean situations like airplanes or spacecrafts, rockets, satellites, even rovers. So these are places where reliability is a very important factor. And you have other modern programming languages such as Java, Python, or anything else. C++ is something that is like very reliable, and you can trust it in these scenarios. So that is where this is used, and even in the applications that you are seeing on the screen right now. Yep. And yeah, why is it this popular? It's because of its reliability, and the second thing is that it's very fast. So performance is like one of the major things why C++ is so popular. And whenever someone wants to build something, right, if they want to build a system and they want to optimize it for performance, any application, any software, it is always advisable to go for C++ if you want to go for performance. So I'll just give you a simplified explanation of why it appears this way. So look at this image here. So at the bottom we have hardware. On top of that you have assembly and machine language. So you guys, I mean, some of you might have heard of this. It basically, that whenever you're running something, right, your computers don't understand the code or the languages that we deal with. They deal in binary, and so any code that we write, it has to get converted into binary first. So this is a very simplified explanation of what actually happens under the hood. But yeah, suffice to say, it gets converted into machine and assembly languages, and then it is run on the hardware. And on top of that, you have languages like C and C++. So that code gets converted to these. And yeah, one thing I'd like to mention here is that the thing that converts this C or C++ code, right, into assembly or machine language, that is called your compiler. So you might have heard of compilers. They basically take your code and convert it into something that your PC or your laptop can understand. Yep, just a second, guys. Yep. Okay, moving on. And for reference, here is something like, here is how Python works. So the bottom part of the stack is the same. You have your hardware and you have your assembly and machine language. But what is different, you'll notice here that Python is actually placed on top of C. And what that means is your Python language, actually, whenever you write code over there, right, it will be converted into C code, because Python itself is written using C. Yeah, you guys can hear me, right? Just drop in a yes. All right. Any problems in the streaming? Okay, cool. Thanks, Pawan. Yep. So this is what is happening, and this is the case with many languages. If you look at, you might have studied JavaScript in 11th or 12th, or maybe even before that. You might have written JavaScript in HTML code when you coded anything, coded any web pages or so. And what happens is, where do you run your HTML and JavaScript code? You run it in a browser, right? You just open that HTML file in a browser. So if you notice, this entire JavaScript thing, it is actually executed in your browser itself. And in which language is your browser written? Your Chrome is written in C++ itself. That's right. Yep. So this is what is happening. C and C++ are languages that are very down to your hardware. So any code that you write in that, it will execute on your hardware much faster than other languages. They are one of the fastest languages, you can say. And this is why they're very popular. And yeah, I said that they are used in mission critical systems because of this reason. And the other reason is that since they are closer to your hardware, they are actually also used in places where you want to control your hardware. So places like robots, where when you give a command and it wants to move its hand and so on. The languages that are used here are also C++. And you might have heard of kernels. Kernel is something that it's a layer between your software and hardware in the simplest terms. Linux is one of the kernels. So Linux lives everywhere basically. I'm myself using Linux OS right now, Ubuntu to be specific. And if you're using an Android phone, you might know that Android itself is also built on top of Linux. So the Linux kernel is written in C, and it is something that interacts with your hardware. So yeah, even that is there. And yeah, I guess I covered why it is fast. So yeah, these are some of the reasons why you should be studying C++. And since you don't have it in your curriculum, in your university curriculum, that is why we have organized this session for you guys. Yeah, so let's move on to the actual coding part. I'll explain it to you guys how you should, what is the code and what it looks like. Also, someone was asking a while ago. Just a second, let me find that text. Yeah, someone was asking where we actually have to code. So, to actually code C++, you will have to download compiler and run it on your local machine. But instead of having you to go through that pain right now, what we'll do is we'll use an online compiler. So there is this website called repl.it. Yeah, I've sent that link in the chat box. So just open that website, Basically, it is just an online compiler. So you'll just have to type in your code there, and you can run your code and look at the output. So you might have to create an account there. So just quickly create an account. You can sign in with Google if you want, and let me know when you're done. Meanwhile, I'll look at some of the questions. Yeah, Dhruv is asking during placements, C++ Java is asked and not Python, right? Okay, so during placements, nowadays this scenario is changed slightly, and most companies, I mean, it does not matter in which language you are coding, as long as you are able to code. So I'll give you our own experience actually. Most companies have like aptitude tests, right? They basically ask you like general aptitude questions and logical reasoning and stuff like that, and along with that they have some coding questions. So these questions are usually like you can select any language that you want. The platform where these questions are hosted, they let you select any language that you want, so you can select C++, Java, Python, anything that you want. And even during the interview, it generally does not matter that much. You can like tell the interviewer that I know this language, I know that language, and he won't say no, you have to only code in this language. So that mostly does not happen. How to start learning coding? Okay, so for coding, I'd suggest like if you're targeting any specific language, you can look at its syntax, its basic features, what it has to offer. If you're looking about C++, all that syllabus and syntax will be covered in this session itself. And then, I mean, that is not as important as what you do with that language. So what you can do is you can head over to websites like HackerRank. We'll talk about more, we'll talk about this in more detail later on. But these are websites where you can, there are a lot of problems for you. So you can just go and, open any problem, solve problems. So these are not only good for, improving your hold on the language, but also good for improving your logic skills. So someone was asking about this earlier. Yeah. Mrudula is asking if I can send the link again. Yeah, Sunanda sent it. Thank you, Sunanda. Okay. Maitri is asking which language is best for AI or machine learning in the future. So yeah, let me tell you a fun fact actually. So a lot of coding in AI and machine learning happens in Python. Okay, and the reason is that it is easier to write code in Python. But the fun thing here is that most of these libraries or softwares that you can say that are actually coded in C and C++ itself, and just give you an interface in Python. So again, the reason is that the interface is in Python because it is much easier to use, but it is still built in C and C++ for performance reasons. And AI and machine learning is a field where performance is of like, very important. Yep. So that is why it is used. Okay. Yeah, so hope you guys have signed up on the platform. Let me change my screen. Yep. So if you guys have created an account and opened, just create a new REPL or REPL and select the language C++. Name, give any name that you want and create it. And yeah, this is the interface that you will see there. So it'll take you through what is happening. So this website is actually like, giving you a virtual computer, you can say. So on the left-hand side, you will see what files exist. So you'll see that main.cpp is the file that is there. I mean, they've created it for us. In the center part, that file is open in a text editor, and some basic code has come in here. I'll explain you the code later. And on the right-hand side, you have this console and shell. So just instead of console, just click on the shell. Yeah, this thing. So this shell is actually similar to the Windows command line. You guys might have seen that. I'm assuming you are more familiar with like Windows, but yeah, just a word of advice. Linux, and I mean, I'm like just urge you to explore Linux and Ubuntu because it is actually very good for programming. Most of you guys are in like first or second year, so you might not have much experience with it, but try installing it, and it is actually a very good development environment. So yeah, this is your shell, like your command prompt that you see in Windows, and you can like type in any commands that you want here. And yeah, this is, I mean, typing commands in here is how you run your code. So let me just cover what is happening in this code right now. So this is actually something that has been generated by this website automatically. The first line that you see here, hashtag include iostream. By the way, you guys can see this, right? Or do you want me to zoom it in a little bit? Yeah, this might be better. Okay. So the first line says hashtag include iostream. So what does include mean basically? So whenever you're writing code, there are certain scenarios where it does not make sense to write everything by yourself. There are some things that have already been done by other people, and you can just use them directly instead of writing them again, instead of reinventing the wheel. So what we are doing here is we are including this thing which is called a library called iostream, and it starts for input output stream. So basically whenever you want to take any input from the user or give any output to the user, this is the library that you include called iostream. Maybe you'll get the hang of libraries a little bit later when you're like a little bit more experienced, but for now it is enough for you to know that this iostream is what lets you, or like what enables you to interact with the user. Yeah, you can write your program without this library as well, but you will not be able to take any inputs, won't be able to give any outputs. Yeah. And then we have something called int main. So int is something that will be covered later on. You can ignore it for now. But what is happening right now is this main is called a function. So whenever you're running some code, right, in the case of C++, what the thing that runs the first is your main function. So you can actually have multiple functions in this code, many different functions, and you'll learn functions in detail later on. But the function that runs the first time when you run the code is the main function. So whatever you write inside this, so these are, I mean, this is what creates a block. You'll see that there is a opening bracket at the start and a closing bracket at the start, the curly braces. So whatever that is written inside is part of this function, and that is what will get executed. So you can, I mean, in C++, it does not matter like where you put stuff. So you can have your braces here as well. And now you have this block. So inside this block, this is your line, std : cout, and we have this operator, and then you have like hello world. So what is happening right now, this cout is actually stands for character output, and this function std : cout, this is actually coming from your stream, iostream. So this is what will let you interact with the user. So whatever you type in here, right, we have like hello world put in along with a \n. So I'll remove the \n for now. Let tell you what it is in a while. And you have this double inverted commas at the start and at the end, like a quote maybe. So this is called a string. Any collection of characters, right? H is a character, E is a character. Any collection of characters is called a string. Vinod will cover it in more detail in some time. I know I'm saying this a lot that you'll learn it in detail, but since this is the first program I'm showing you, there are a few things that I'll have to say this, for. So yeah, just bear with me for a while. But yeah, this is the code. So it's basically just printing hello world to your terminal or your shell or your console. Yeah. And now let me show you guys how you can actually run this program. So in your right hand side, there is your shell, right? So just go there and type in g++ space main.cpp. So now what is happening here? So g++ here is the name of your compiler. So yeah, sorry guys. So if you remember from my presentation earlier, I was telling you guys that compiler is something that will convert your code from the thing that you have written into something that your PC understands, maybe binary codes, like in zeros and ones. So that is what a compiler is. And G++ is the name of your C++ compiler. And I mean, following the space, we have main.cpp, which is the name of your file. So on the left hand side, you can see this main.cpp. So that is our file name. So that is just, I mean, this just one command will compile your code, and it will generate an output. I mean, an output file. So just hit enter. So it might take some time to execute. Yeah, and now you'll notice another file named a.out in this file section. So this is the output binary file. So actually your code has not executed yet. It has just compiled into something that your machine can understand. And then this a.out, you can you can execute it whenever you want. So this is just like any software, right? Whenever you install any software, right, you don't actually run your software. Or maybe if you guys are familiar with Android, you can have like yeah, sorry guys again. You can have APK files. So these are files that are compiled code, and when you install and run that code, that is when it gets executed. So these are just output binary files. And now to execute these files, we have to type in /. So // is the command that with which you can execute files on Linux. And after that, just type in a.out. And then when you press enter, you will see that this hello world appears here. So yeah, that is how you that is how you compile and run your code. So I'll just briefly check if there are any questions. Yeah, Abhishek and Dhruv are asking what is the use of std there. Okay, so the thing is, there is something called as namespaces in C++. So whenever I'm printing something, right, I might have to write stdcout every time. So what I mean, C++ kind of provides you a shortcut, I can say. You can type in this thing using namespace std. Yeah, so sorry guys. Just give me a second. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Okay, yeah. So what I was saying is that you can type in this line called using namespace std. And what this means is that anything that is available in, I mean, under std, right, you don't have to write it explicitly. You can just ignore this and just write cout directly. So even apart from cout, there are actually many other functions. So like just like printing something or like displaying something, there is also a function to read something or like take something from the user, an input. So even that is available. Vinod will cover it shortly. And even apart from that, there are a lot many things available. So instead of having to write std : every time, you can say that this std, I mean all the functions that are available in std, you can use them throughout directly. So Chetan is asking why hello world in every language. Okay, so hello world is just the standard, like it is just a convention, nothing else. Whenever you are learning a new language, right, the first thing, I mean, it is like the alphabet. Like whenever you're learning the first thing, the first program that you write is like, how do you do a hello world in this thing? Just a convention, nothing much. Which language is used in animation companies like Disney? So instead of languages, I mean, these are softwares, right? So whatever softwares they use for animation, I mean, it depends on them. Like they might have written it in anything, but I don't know exactly, but there's a very good chance that they have been written in C++ itself. When are the actual sessions for C++? Yeah, going on. what is the latest programming language that is developed or being developed. Programming languages programming languages is something that keep coming out, right? If you Google right now new programming languages in 2021, you might still find something. So it does not matter like how new a programming language is. What is actually important is how well it is supported, or what is the community, how large is the community behind it, and how mature or evolved that programming language is. And why did you not use .h at the end? So .h is actually something, so these libraries were called header files, and these were imported in, and we used to import it in C this way. So if you have studied C, you might remember that we used to write stdio.h, but with C++, that is not, we don't need to do that. We can just write hashtag include iostream, and it works that way. So Vishal is asking, you didn't write return 0 at the end. When do we need to write it? All right, good point. So return 0, yeah, let me just cover that briefly. Okay, maybe this analogy might help. Just a second though. Dada video. Yeah, sorry again. So you might be aware of HTTP error codes, right? Like 404, for example. 40, we all know that 404 is for like not found in something. And then you have other codes such as 500 for server error or 200 for OK. So similarly, these error codes are used in C++ as well. So return 0 is something that is an exit code, that is called as an exit code for your operating system. So 0 stands for your program finished execution successfully. Return is something that will just, as a result of that function, like what comes out of this function and goes back to your operating system, that is handled by return. And the 0 is their exit code. That means all went okay. There are other codes as well, like you can return 1 or 2, or there are like more complicated ones as well. I don't know the exact ones, but they let your operating system know that what happened. Ayan is asking, like, is it a.out for Windows also, or is it a.exe? I think it is a.out, though I'm not sure. Others from BSc, if you're aware, please answer. Pratik is asking, what is the benefit of computer languages for mechanical students? Okay, so the thing is, programming is actually like becoming very ubiquitous nowadays. And even if you're in mechanical, right, there are still going to be places or situations where you might need programming languages. Actually, as a mechanical student, you might have to do simulations and all like in your higher classes. And in these scenarios, it is very helpful if you know languages like these. Maybe C++, even Python, or even languages like MATLAB are going to be very helpful. Okay. Rutuj is asking, are C and C, are C++ and C# related, or are they totally different? Well, no, they are different. C++, so C# is actually similar to Java, I think. It is used for like in gaming engines. Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. But yeah, they're totally different. Okay, sure. Let's move on now. We'll take questions at the end. Okay, anyway, so yeah, this is it for the Hello World program. But I'll just cover a few things before I hand it over to Vinod. So I want to talk more about these commands, right? So right now you saw that the output file was called a.out. But even from my own personal experience, students have a hard time like figuring out, keeping these commands in mind, or like actually understanding what a.out even means, because this is what we type every time. So do one thing, just delete this a.out file, right click here and click on delete, and try to compile that program again. Write g++ main.cpp, but instead of hitting enter, just type in -o and write anything that you want after that. I'll just type in output and then hit enter. So what you'll see is that the file that got created is called output. So this the thing that we added at the end, it is actually a directive for the compiler to name your output file as whatever we specify here. I specified output, so that is why it was called output. And now when I have to run it, I'll just type in /output and I can hit enter and it will show up here. Yeah, so I was talking about \n earlier, right? \n means new line. Some of you might be aware, some of you might not be. So I'll write in \n here and I will compile my program again and I'll run it. So yeah, this is the difference. So you'll see that after hello world has been printed, right? Your next line will start from a new line instead of just coming in at the end. So that was \n. And yeah, one more thing is that when this output file has been generated, right, if you have to execute your program again, you need not compile it every time. So I can just do /output. I do not need to write in g++ main.cpp. That is only when I'm making any changes. So suppose I delete this world, okay, I just type in hello, and then without compiling, then I execute my file with /output. It will, you'll see that it will still show hello world because this output file is your old file. We have not compiled it yet. So let's compile that again, g++ main.cpp and -o output. And this new file will be created and it will overwrite this file. And then when you do /output, you'll see this updated code. So yeah, if you are not making any changes, you need not compile your file again. Yep. So I hope you guys are here, with me. Do let me know if you're trying this out. Are you trying it out? Okay, great. So Pawan is asking, what are advantages for me as I belong to printing technology branch? So I'm not sure like what advantages you would face as in the printing field. But if you guys have any programming to do in any kind of machinery, even that is beneficial. Because I had a friend who was studying instrumentation, and turns out even he needed to do a lot of programming in languages like MATLAB because they had to program their machineries. So yeah, even it was useful for him. Which necessary language should we do as an electrical student? Okay, so I'm going to say as an electrical student, you might benefit from learning C and C++ because you guys tend to work on Arduinos and Raspberry Pis. I don't know if you have heard of these, but these are like small, basically they're like small controllers, microcontrollers, or just like small computers in general. So electrical students need to program into this, and you guys have projects as well. You might have them in your second or maybe in your third year, and those microcontrollers use C and C++, like similar to that. Okay, so I guess we're done with the questions for now. All right, then I'll hand it over to Vinod. And if you have any questions, meanwhile, you can like keep, you can keep asking your questions and we'll take them at the end. Vinod, are you there?
Yes, Advait. Am I audible?
Yep. Hi.
Is there any noise from my side?
No, it's fine.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, so I will take it from here. First of all, welcome to C++ Bootcamp. I am Vinod Kamath. I am the project management head at DSC PVG COET. I'm currently in the final year of my computer engineering, and yeah, I guess some of first year computer students might know me. And okay, so I will be covering some things regarding C++. So we will be going forward with how to take the user input, then how to print it, like Advait has already covered that. Then we will also explore how to do mathematical operations such as addition or subtraction, maybe division with the help of C++. And yeah, let's see what we can cover in today's session. So I'll be sharing my screen. Just a second. Is my screen visible? Okay, great. So I will just revise before Advait, like what Advait already has said. Okay, I will try to switch on my camera if it's possible. Okay, yeah. Actually, the camera quality of my laptop is not so good, so please bear with it. Okay, yeah. So I will just revise what Advait has already told. So we use, first of all, let's go with the file extension. Like the compiler uses .cpp to detect that it's a C++ program. So whenever we write a program in C++, we have to save it with .cpp so that it recognizes that it's a C++ program. Apart from that, going by the code, the first line we include iOS stream, because as Advait has already said that we need not write each and every line of the code. There is some code already written for us that is by developers that we can directly use. So with the help of iOS stream, what we can do is that we can use cout. So here on the fourth line that we are using cout, it is with the help of iOS stream. So if we don't include this, we won't be able to use this cout function. Then int main is a function. So what is a function? We will try to cover it afterwards because it is in the next session maybe. So this is a function basically. The curly brackets, we have to write the code in curly brackets. So whatever the code we write, it should be in the curly brackets. This is the return statement that the function returns an integer. Even if we don't return it for int main, it's fine. Then yeah, the cout means character output. So whatever character that like whatever we have to print after it, this is the insertion operator, and whatever we write in after this would get printed in the console. And we can skip this part for it. Like if we don't have to use std, then we can directly use using namespace std, so that we don't have to write std again and again. So yeah, till this, if anyone has any doubt, please write it in the question and answer section. Section. Okay, I guess there is no question. Okay, so let's proceed with it. So please, what do you guys think a program is? What is a program? Can anyone tell their interpretation what they think a programming is? Or maybe when you see in movies, or maybe when you see in companies that people are trying to code, what are they exactly doing? Like they are doing some programming, but what do you call a program? What is a program basically? Okay, Omkar is saying certain instructions, right? Yeah, set of instructions. Exactly. Any other question? Any other answer for it? Okay. So what programming is, or maybe a program is, like we have to give something as an input field for the program. It performs a certain task with the help of certain instructions and gives an output for it. So a good program gives the desired output, whereas a program need not give the desired output every time. So we have to give something as an input, not every time, but we have to give something as an input, and it would give something as an output. So this program basically gives the output of hello world, right? So we will now learn how to take an input from the user. Like for example, we see this console here, right, on the right hand side. So we can take some input field from the user, right? So how to take that, or maybe how to make it interactive for the user. So we will try to cover it right now. So I will write the program. You can write it with me. So as we have cout for printing it, we have cin for taking the command, for maybe for taking the value. So I will write something on the fifth line that I will explain it after few time, some time. Also, someone had asked in the Okay, so someone had asked in the comments, in the comment section, that why Hello World is every time used, or maybe why do we start programming with Hello World? So when, like basically before C++, there was C language, right? And before that, even there was a language called as B language that was developed by Bell Laboratories. So when they introduced the programming aspect of it, and when they prepared their memo, in that memo, when while explaining the printing statement, they used hello world for the first time. And since then, every time whenever a programmer learns, or maybe whenever a programmer starts with coding, we traditionally use hello world as the first step towards the programming. So that is one of the reasons that people start with hello world. Okay, coming back to the program, we have ignore the fifth line. I will explain it afterwards. So this is cin, that is the character input, and this is an operator, and we are taking taking an input from it. So I will be explaining fifth and sixth line together, but let's see what happens. So I have compiled the program, then it asks for the it waits. It is not printing anything. So I type 5 as a user input, and it returns 5. So what exactly happened here? So for that, we will have to explore what the fifth line represents, right? So there are certain things called as variables in C++. Like in any other programming language, there are certain things called as a variable. So what variable is that? Basically, this program is stored in a memory location, right? Like in a memory location. So for whenever a user takes any, whenever we get an input from a user, we have to store it somewhere. So for that, for that storing, we use variables. So what fifth line is? Fifth line is a variable named a, and the data type of that variable is integer. So what it means is that there would be a variable, the value of this variable would be an integer. So when we take an input from the user, we type in an integer, right? Because the data type is integer. So yeah, so that's how it is. And there are other data types too, apart from integer. We will be covering it afterwards. So basically, let's see what happens is that fifth line, we have declared a variable called as a, which is of data type integer. Then we are taking this input value from the user and we are printing it. So it is as simple as that. Cin takes the fifth line declares the variable, sixth line takes the user input from the user, and seventh line prints it. So do you guys have any doubt in this? You can tell me if I'm going a bit fast or maybe a bit slow, or if you are unable to catch something. Okay. No doubts, sir. You don't have to call me sir. I'm just in the 4th year, so I'm just 3 years senior to you. You can call me Vinod. I'm not able to understand. Okay, Pawan, I will cover it once more. Okay, so let's go through this again for one final time. So there is something called as variable in which we store the values or maybe input values from the user. A variable is name given to a memory location in program because everything would be stored in the memory, right? Talking from the memory perspective. So that is a name given to the memory location, and it has a data type. Like integer is one of the data type, and we represent the data type integer by int. This is a keyword in C++. So there are other type of data types too, but we can represent a variable of integer type by this line integer a, and this is how you declare a variable. Then the second step is to take a user input. So how we take an user input is similar to how we print it. So we are using cout for printing something. Similarly, we are using cin for like which represents character input for taking the user input. This is how we take the input from the user. So as you can see on the right side, what I did is first I compiled the program and then it didn't print anything. So it waited for the user to do something, right? So I typed 5 and pressed enter. So that's how I took the input from the user, and then I just printed what the user has already given me. We can also do other things like, for example, if I want to add 1 for it, and yeah. So it's compiling. Let's see what the output would be. Yeah. So yeah, this is one more thing that I have introduced to you guys right now. This is called as addition operator. So it's as simple as while you like you use calculator, you use this symbol and add anything, right? So what I did was I took an input that is 5 from the user, then I added one value to it, and then I printed it. So 5 plus 1 is equal to 6. So it just printed it. Guys, are you guys understanding? Instead of int main, can use void main. Yeah, Shruti, sure. We can use void main as well. I'm new for this C++. Pawan, did you understand what I told right now? Guys, is the pace fine, or should I take it a bit more slow? Okay, it's fine. Great. Okay. So now we have covered C in and C out, and now we will see something as comments. So what comments is, basically if someone who is not familiar to programming doesn't know what cin is, maybe what cout is, or maybe what a variable is, how will he be able to understand this program? Like for example, I am not from the coding background at all. I am from maybe arts background, and I don't know what C is, what C++ is, or maybe what even programming is. So if I want to show him this and want to explain him what is going on in the program, so how would I do that? I would just sit with him and explain each line, right? But since we don't have that much time to explain each and every person, what we can do is that we can write what this line means in the program itself. So these are comments to explain the program, and commenting is very important because it helps to understand not only the people who don't understand programming, but also those who understand program, because this is a simple program any programmer would understand. but in real life, or maybe when you become experienced as a developer, the programs, the lines of programs are about maybe 1,000 lines, 10,000 lines, and you cannot understand each and every line. So if someone comments on the program, it becomes easier to understand. So I will show how to comment it. So you guys saw the text color change from black to gray, right? So you have to press backslash twice, and that's how you comment. So now I can write anything. So I will write that declared a variable. Okay, is the spelling fine? Yeah. So if anyone who is not familiar with programming can understand what this is, he has declared a variable or maybe declared something, then taking user input. This is one type of commenting, and there is one more type in which, like, we are commenting each line, right? But what if we want to write a detailed explanation what is going on in this program? So there are multi-line comments too. So let's see how multi-line comments go. So you have to type one backslash and then a star. So this is used for multi-line comments, and at the start as well as the end. So this so you guys see this line, right? 9th line and 12th line. So in between this, whatever I write would be commented. So this is the first session of C++ bootcamp. So you can write any number of lines, like you can comment any number of lines to explain what is going on, or maybe if you want to note something. So comments are extremely crucial for telling the users what is going on in the program. I will just check the questions if there are any. If we use int main, do we have to use return 0 at the end of the program? No, it's not necessary to use return 0 at the end of the program for int main, but for other programs, like for example, if there is a different function and which returns an integer, it is mandatory to return something. But since int main is the main function of C++, we don't have to, like, we don't always have to return something. It can work without returning to. Srishti. Little bit about the integer. I'm not able to understand. Okay, I'm new for this C++. Little bit about integer. Yeah, Pavan, we will be covering the data types after this. Vinod, can you tell me when we use void and when we use int? Yeah, Jitendra. Yeah. So basically what happens is that int main is just an example of a function. We can write other functions too. For example, if I start writing maybe void hello and put a bracket, so this becomes a function too, but I have to call this function. Okay, I would not talk about what calling a function is. That is a different topic in itself. But we can basically, what I mean to say is that we can have different functions too. So void is used when we don't have to return anything from this function. Like for example, if I have to type something like cout, maybe hello, then we use void. And if we want to return something, maybe return 0, then we have to use integer. You saw what happened here right now. When I wrote on the 17th line that we have to return 0, it's giving a red line under it, because and it's showing something too. Yeah, void function hello should not return a value. Yeah, what this means to say is that since we have declared a return type as void, we cannot return an integer from this function, right? So we have to change the return type, or we have to the other option is to not return something. So if I want to return 0, then I type integer. Why to return values from the function? We will cover it in the next session. So that is a different topic. Let's understand C++ from the basics and not jump on to the functions right now. Okay, can you please tell which tag did you use for starting and ending the comment instead of double slash? Yeah, okay. I think void doesn't return the value. Yeah, Shruti, void doesn't return any value. Does returning a value means output? No, output is C out for it, and returning is something different that would be covered in the next session. Priyanka, what these color define in a code? I know it's a silly question, but no, actually there is no question such as a silly question. Which color do you mean? These colors, blue, red, black, maybe. So yeah, these are the blue colors are the keywords basically. Include is a keyword, then int is a keyword for data type. Then basically these are the keywords, and iOS stream is a library, right? So therefore it is been colored in red, and others are black color. Okay. Yeah, so Ishan has asked what did you use for commenting multiple lines, right? Okay. So yeah, Ishan, as you can, I guess the black gray part wouldn't be visible clearly. So what I used was a backslash and a star, like a star for from the number pad, and yeah, and while opening, like while closing also, I typed star and a backslash. So that's how I used for multiple, like commenting multiple lines. Okay, anyone has any question? Okay, great. Yeah, okay. Now let's proceed to the next thing. But okay, so we will just play one quiz. Let me see if it's prepared. Just a second. Just a second, guys. Okay. Okay, I will cover some few things and then we will play the quiz, right? Okay, so as I said, these are the variables, right? Like the memory, like the name we give to the memory spaces. Now let's go in a bit detail what the line 5 represents. So what if I write like this? So what I previously did was I took an input value from the user, right? Instead of taking the input value from the user, I'm directly assigning a value to a variable with the help of an operator called as equal to operator. So let's see what this is. So what the fifth line means is that there is a variable called a, which is of type integer, which has been assigned a value that is 5. So there are three things. Let's go one by one. Name of the variable, that is a, type of the variable, that is integer, and the third thing is value of the variable, that is 5. So these are the three important things that we need to consider while declaring a variable. It is not compulsory to give a value every time. Like previously, what I did was I took the value from the user, right? So even if I don't assign any value, it's fine. So let's see what, so you haven't encountered with something called as an error, right? In C++. We will see what an error is. So let's go here and just write A. What if I just write A and a semicolon and I try to print maybe A equal to 5 and try to print the value of A. Here we have something on the right side. And trust me, guys, you don't ever wish to see this on your console. this is something called as an error in C++. And this is something that programmers do hate a lot because it takes a lot of time to solve an error. This is a simple one, but there are big errors too. So this is an error. What this error is saying, let's see. Use of undeclared identifier A. Use of undeclared identifier A. Okay, there are two errors, but one is given for the, like you can see the green part, right? One is given for the variable and second is given for the cout. So what it means to say is that we have written A equal to 5, but what is the type of this variable? We haven't declared it, right? Let's declare it and then run it. Okay, now it's printing 5. So the error has been solved and now the program is fine. So anyone has any question? Whatever you write in comment won't affect your output or code at all. Yeah, right. Does the comment in C++ appear in the output? No. Swaraj, no. The comment doesn't appear in the output. Let's see. Oh, sorry. This is a comment that I did for the 6th line, right? And now I run the program. So as you can see, the comment hasn't appeared in the output because that's what the main aim is, to explain the code and not to be in the output. So it just explains the code and is not part of the output part, like output part of the program. Can you please explain about the errors? Okay, Ritvij, I can explain about the errors, but if I start to explaining about, like if I start you explaining about errors, there are multiple errors. Like the one you just saw was regarding, like, was because I didn't put the data type of the variable, right? So apart from these, there are many errors, and even 100 sessions would be not enough to explain each and every error. So as you proceed with sessions, you will be able to get hold of what type of errors are, what the error is, and I will be explaining it to you as the session proceeds if we encounter any error. Okay, just let me check any question or answer. Like iOS stream and stdi. Okay, like iOS stream and stdi.h in same program. Okay, is int a. So you guys didn't understand your question. Is int a what do you mean to say? Also, Ayan, like iOS stream and stdi in the same. Actually, I'm not sure because from the past 1 year I'm using Python. I haven't I don't recall the syntax. Advait, can you help me out here? Can we use stdi.h in C++ as well?
So actually you can compile both programs using like whatever compiler you want, but yeah, you can try it out actually right now if you want. Let's see which one, I mean, what error it throws.
Okay. So let's include.
I think it will probably work for C++ if you do like G++, maybe.
Yeah, okay. But let's comment then
No,
iOS
let's keep it,
stream
let's see.
because stdi. Okay, let's keep it. Okay. It won't be giving
Yeah,
an error
not for
certainly.
C++, maybe for C it will give us an error.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because actually, yeah,
So C it
since
will.
C++ is like a subset of C, I mean, not anymore actually, because they separated out a couple of years ago. But nevertheless, it is still like a subset for C. So this stdio.h, this standard library is available in your C++ libraries, but IOStream won't be available in C. So yeah, so like we type in G++ for compiling C++ programs, right? We type in GCC for compiling C programs. So that is the name of the compiler, GCC for C.
Yes, right. Right. Okay, so we can include stdio.h in C++ and it won't give any error. Okay, so as I said, we have learned some new things. I will just summarize in some points. We have learned how to print something, how to take user input from the user, how to declare a variable, how to assign it a value, and how to print that variable too. These are the 4 to 5 things that we have learned. Now we will just revise and like take a quiz on this. So I will share my screen. You are able to see this, right? Okay. So what you can do is that go on slido.com. Can someone put it in the chat box? Okay, I will do it. Yeah, slido.com, and put the code 266563. I repeat, put the code 266563. So there is one question: which operator is used for cout? Let's see. There are 3 options. Please, everyone, vote so that it would just clear your understanding. Okay, till now 25 people have voted and 92% say that it's the first one. Okay, others also vote. We will see what the right answer is. By the way, okay, let's let everyone answer, then I will come. Okay, so 56 people have voted and 95% say that it's the first option. So I will just tell what each operator is called. I guess Advait has already told. I will just revise it. The first one is called as insertion operator. The second one is called as extraction operator. Yeah, extraction operator. And the third one is double equal to. So 95% say that it's the insertion operator that we use for cout. Yeah. And 5% say that it's the second one. So yeah, 95% of the people are correct. We use the insertion operator for cout. And as you can see, like as I have probably like I have covered previously that we like how we declare a variable is cout using the insertion operator and whatever we need to type. That's how we cover it. Okay, come on, let's start with the next poll then. Which operator is used for cin? Okay, 87% have still voting for the first one, that was insertion operator. Okay. Yeah, 85% people are right. 60 people have voted. We use the extraction operator for, let me just like verify once if it's called extraction operator. I'm 99% sure. Otherwise, it's called extraction operator, right? Yeah. Okay.
And the other one is the insertion operator.
Insertion operator. Yeah. Right. So 83% people are correct. We use the extraction operator. That is the second option for writing something, like for taking the user input. So the syntax is cin the extraction, and then the data, the variable that you want to store the value in.
Guys, by the way, Vinod, can you show the code right now if possible?
Yeah, just
Just
a
kind of an easy way to remember which operator is which.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, thanks. So if you look at the seventh line right now, so the flow is from A to C out, right? I mean, it is like, I mean, you can think of it as that value is coming from A to C out because that is where those arrows are pointed at. Whereas for C in, can you type in C in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for C in, we have, I mean, these arrows are pointing towards A. So like whatever input is coming, it is going into A, into that variable. So this might help you remember.
Yeah, that's a nice way to remember. Yeah. Okay, I'll just share my screen again. Right. So the second option is correct. 81% students have voted correctly. 19% are a bit confused what is used for C out and what is for the C in. So we use the extraction operator for C in. That is the second option. And the first option is used for C out and not C in. Please note this, guys. Okay, the next question. Which operator is used for commenting? So basically, this question is a multiple answer question. So there could be 2 or 3 answers as well. Okay, so 82% are saying third option, 80% are saying fourth, and 12%, as I expected, are saying the first option. 15%. Okay. 61 students have voted till now. Others also vote. Please vote. If you're facing any difficulties with Slido, let us know in the chat box. Right. Okay. Okay. 1% have voted for second option. That's a bit strange. No, the second option is used for see out and not for commenting. The third and fourth option are the correct answers. So the third option is like the double backslash is used for commenting one line, whereas backslash and a star, and then again a star and a backslash is used for commenting multiple lines. And yeah, the first option is, I guess, used in Python. So I tried to trick you guys, but yeah, most of you answered it correctly. So hash is used for commenting in Python, not in C++ or C. Okay, now let's go with the next question. Int num equal to 5. What is the type of the variable? Is it 5? Is it num? Is it int, or is it equal to? Okay. 10% are saying it's num, 90% are saying it's int. Okay, since I'm sharing my screen, don't just vote for the third option just because 95% have voted for it, right? They might be wrong too. Who knows? Yeah, so 85% have voted correctly. 11% think that num is the type of the variable. No, num is the name of the variable and not the type. Int is the type of the variable that we declare. And 5 is the value of the variable and not the type. And equal to is an operator. So C option is the correct one. So integer is the type of this variable. Okay, now the final question in the quiz, and we can proceed with other things now. What is the value of the variable int num equal to 5? Is it integer? Is it num? Is it equal to, or maybe is it 5? Okay, 90% are saying it's 5. 9% are still thinking that it's int. Actually, the previous question's answer was int. So integer is the type of the variable. I repeat, it's the type of the variable and not the value of the variable. Right. So 93% are right. The value of the variable is 5 since we have assigned it and integer num equal to 5. That is the value of the variable. Okay, so let's stop this quiz and we can proceed with our code and learn something more. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat box or in question and answer section. Okay, sir. Okay, so till now we have learned what integer, like integer is one of the data types, right? So there are other data types too. I will just share my screen, like share that window for it. So there are other data types such as float is one of them, then long is one of them, and yeah, let's cover it. Let me just okay, share the screen. Right. So this is one website. So C++ has many data types, as you can see. C++ fundamental data types and the meaning. So integer stands for integer, float. So now what is a float? So integer is an integer, right? Like -1, -2, -3, -4. But what about the decimal points, like 3.4? It's not an integer, right? So all the values that are in decimal, like maybe 3.4, 5.6, like in whichever the value there is a decimal, that comes under float. And yeah, what's a double? So every variable has a certain range. What I mean to say is that, like, I will show it in the code, but every variable has certain range which they can cover. Like for example, maybe certain data type would have a range of 100. Like for example, if I assign integer a equal to 100, it would print some value. But if I assign integer a equal to 101, it won't be able to print because it's out of the range. Though the range of integer is much higher, I'm just giving an example. So whatever the range integer cannot cover is covered with double. So that is one of the type of data type. It's a double floating point, so it's for decimal points. Character is for characters, like maybe A, B, C, D. We can represent data type using character. Then bool is for true or false. Don't worry, guys. We will be having a demo of it in the code section. I'm just going through this website. So this is a Boolean operator, and this is void. Void is an empty. Like it represents empty thing. Like it doesn't return anything. Yeah. So I will just show it in the code so that you guys can understand it in a better way. Shall we exit the tab of slido.com? Yeah, Pratik, you can exit the tab of slido.com. Right. Okay. So as we had integer equal to 5, now let's try what float is. Let's see if we try to give a value of 5.6 to this integer, but 5.6 is not an integer, right? What would it give as an error? Or maybe will it give an error or not? That's the question. Okay. So you guys can see what happened here. There is something called as a warning. Sorry, there is something called as an error, and there is something called as a warning. So it's giving me a warning that implicit conversion from double to integer change value. One warning generated, but it's still giving me an output of 5. But we had assigned a value of 5.6, right? So why is it giving a value of 5 in the output? That's because the type of this variable is integer and this is a float, right? So what it does is that it takes the integer part of it, like integer part of 5.6, and prints it. So int a equal to 5.6, what it means for a is that since it's an integer, it assigns the value of 5 to it and prints it. So it's as simple as that. And it doesn't give an error for this. It just converts the float into integer. So I will change this to float now. And let's see if this gives an error or not. Yeah, so as expected, since float is used for decimal numbers, this isn't giving an error and it's simply printing 5.6. Anyone has any doubt what happened till now? If possible, can you explain how logic we can apply to the program? Okay, yeah, it would be covered in the last session of this bootcamp. How to get a command on a certain language? Yeah, tough question. But to get a command over a certain language, you need to syntax is just one part, but the first part would be to clear your basics, like the basics that we are learning right now. We need to be clear about it. Then as you develop some projects in certain languages, maybe in C++, or maybe if you're interested in Java, you get a hold of what other things you can do with that particular language, right? So from that you can get hold of, like, be expert in a particular language. That is one of the techniques to learn a certain language. Anyone has any doubt till this? Did you guys understand what float is, or maybe what an integer is? Please reply in the chat box. Yes, okay, no doubt. Okay. Yeah, so I will just quickly cover other data types as well. Let's see what other data types we have. There is something called as character. So till now we were dealing with numbers, right? So if we want a as an output, we can have character. This is a keyword, this is the variable name, and this is the value that we have assigned to it. And we will run this program. So let's see what the output is. Yeah, it's a. So that's simple. So this is a character data type. Now, when I said the certain integer, like certain data type has a range, right? What I meant to show you is, let's consider this thing. I'm just typing any random numbers so that
Hi, Vinod.
slow.
Yeah, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt
Advait.
you. I think a few people have some tests, college test right now at 7:45.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see the chat box. Okay, you have test at 7:45. Okay.
Can we stop here and continue in the next session?
Yes,
Sunanda, should we
yes, I
stop?
think we can stop right now and we can continue the rest of the part in the next session.
Yeah, so guys, we will be continuing with the data types and other things in the next session. Please do attend the next session because it would be covering other things as well, like operators, the other kind of data types, what a range is, and what is the size of a variable. These things would be covered in the next session, and these are the fundamentals of a language. So you need to learn this before applying logics or maybe before solving any problem. So do attend our next session, and you guys can leave. And best of luck for the
Yes,
examination.
thank you guys
Like
for
whatever.
joining us today, and we hope to see you in the next session. And all the best for your exam.
Yeah. Thank you guys for patiently listening.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
I think we have one question in Q&A section. We can
Okay.
answer that.
If our variable value is 13.6,
I was
then
thinking if we could answer them in the next session, if everyone can listen. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we will end this session.
Yeah, Pranav, we will answer your question in the next session.